Calling Kosovo a country doesn't make it one. Outgoing Undersecretary of State Nicholas Burns, a despicable character for many years, an underhanded undertaker who has tried to savage America for years. This Nicholas Burns, who was often mentioned as a possible Secretary of State under a Democrat administration, thrilled by this. He said a vastly majority Muslim state has been carved out of Serbia, a European Christian country. And here's what this despicable vermin said, Burns, quote, "We think it is a very positive step that this Muslim majority state has been created today. That is within our own State Department. And I'll tell you who's behind it. It is not Nicholas Burns at all. Don't think it's that school mom, Condoleezza Rice-Aroni. She doesn't know what's going on. It's neither of them. Who runs Wall Street? That's who the Council on Foreign Relations is. Why would Wall Street want a Muslim state in the heart of Europe? Why would the Bush administration be in favor of a pro-Islamic presence in the Balkans? Why would they create the equivalent of a Palestinian state in the southern reaches of Europe? Look at the jihad terror plot to attack Fort Dix, New Jersey, where 4 of the 6 defendants were Albanian Muslims from the Kosovo region. Where did they come in from? 3 of them were illegal aliens. 1 was brought to the U.S. by Hillary Clinton as a refugee. Another example of the gratitude from the Albanian Muslim community. Who are these people? Who is the Kosovo Liberation Army? Why are they operating in the United States of America? All I can tell you is that I'm ashamed today to be sitting here in the United States of America to see that the Gypsies, the Gorani, the Croats, and the Jews have been expelled from Kosovo along with the Serbian population. 2/3 of the Serbians have already been driven out of Kosovo and have not been able to return safely to their homes, along with similar proportions of other groups. 2/3 of the Jews, 2/3 of the Gypsies, 2/3 of the Croats, 2/3 of the Gorani. 150 churches and monasteries have been burnt to the ground with crosses and icons of Christ attracting particular vandalistic rage. A testament to the secularism that we are being told the Kosovars are going to be bringing to the area. No, my friends, it's not a secular state that's being created. It is a radical Muslim state funded by Saudi money. This is a nightmare. The perfect international storm, shattering the principle of the territorial integrity of sovereign nations, encouraging violent separatists worldwide, provoking a needless confrontation with Russia and other countries, boosting the jihad terrorist and organized crime threat to Europe and America, creating conditions for human rights and religious freedom nightmare. Far-reaching consequences. It may be the worst blunder of Bush's presidency, which is saying a lot.
My grandparents are from Yugoslavia, were Croatian, and my dad used to tell me about this with the Serbians and Croats back then, that during Hitler's occupation, the Croatians sided with Hitler to get rid of the Serbians, and what they did in Kosovo, they basically went through a genocide, repopulated with the Albanians who were Muslim because they were sympathetic to Hitler.
Correct. The Mufti was sympathetic to Hitler. The Arab Muslims have long been sympathetic to fascism. We know that. And the reason we are at war with Islamofascism is because it is one and the same with Hitler's fascism, only it's wrapped in a religious garb this time. Make no mistake about it, the Islamofascists are Hitler, only instead of wearing the swastika, they're wearing quite a different uniform these days. Some of them even work for the TSA. Go tell that to Nicholas Burns in the State Department.
You have a lack of knowledge about the Balkans. I'm very sorry for your lack of knowledge. You are pro-Serbian, you are pro-Hitler, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but if you look...
Whoa. How can I be pro-Serbian and pro-Hitler when they fought Hitler and your people were wearing Hitler's uniform? I think your wires are crossed.
No, I'm sorry, I disagree with you 100%.
Well, it's not a matter of whether you disagree. History is not something you agree or disagree with. The SS division in Albania, what, are you going to deny that?
I'm going to deny what you said.
Tell it to Wolf Blitzer. U.S. allies, some airplanes get shot down over Yugoslavia. The partisans in Serbia rescued our airmen and returned them safely after feeding them with food that they themselves scarcely had. Well-known fact I had on this show 10 years ago. A Democrat, liberal prosecutor at Nuremberg who told me he was heartbroken by what Clinton was doing in '98, bombing the Serbian people. Do a quick search on the Skanderberg division of Nazis in World War II and who they were and who they killed. They exterminated Serbs, they exterminated Jews, they exterminated Gypsies, they ethnically cleansed Kosovo of Christians, of Jews, and of gypsies. Turning race against race, religion against religion, and make no mistake about it. That's the plan of the international New World Order, which is to break the hegemony of the United States of America by having one group attack another and keep it on a low boil. That way they can get away with what they've been getting away with for decades, only they can continue to do it in spades. That's the way I see it, and I think millions of you see it the same way. That's exactly what the problem with Kosovo. Genocide has been committed in Kosovo. This will provoke an attack, further attacks upon the Serbs, the Jews, the Gypsies, and other minority groups in Kosovo who have been there for ages, and how the State Department can glorify the establishment of an Islamist state in Kosovo is incomprehensible to me. I do not understand how you people don't understand the danger that this poses. What Washington is trying to inflict upon the poor Serbs today could be the fate of the American Southwest tomorrow. If you start to encourage separatist movements, you have no idea where this is liable to end. Israel doesn't know what to do. Israel, of course, is a puppet of Washington. We know that. Israel's a puppet of the United States State Department, which is why it's in disrepair. It is no longer an independent nation. If it ever was one, they're afraid because they don't know what to do. They're afraid of angering Washington. If they support the Kosovo precedent, the next day there could be a proclamation of a Palestinian state right within their own borders. And then what are they going to do next? Who are they going to turn to? Condoleezza Rice? It's unbelievable to me. It's incomprehensible that you people would allow this to go on without any anger. Don't you understand what's going on here? Christian Serbs in Kosovo are now being targeted for worse than they've already experienced. They've experienced something that you can never comprehend. If you think that the new Kosovo is going to be a peace-loving member of the new NATO alliance, you're out of your mind. Because radical Islamist influence is already seen in Kosovo. You're a Nazi in your heart. So it was your father who cut the eyes out of Serbs and Jews, is that right?
You like to think your own way, right?
Ah, shut up, you Nazi bastard. You shouldn't even be in my country. How you got in here is a disgrace, you vermin, you. It's people like you who have ruined America. Don't tell me I don't know something because I'm not there. See, it's people like you who want to bring the hatred of the old country to this country with your dirty lies. All you people know how to do is twist and lie.
You consider yourself...
Ah, shut up. I'll put on your Nazi uniform if it still fits on your potbelly, you bum, you.
With U.S. money and U.S. blood, a crescent of growing Islamic influence from Bosnia to Turkey. Kosovo is 90% Islam. In next door Albania is 70 going up to 85. The Saudis, QAE, and other Arab countries have poured millions and millions of dollars into building certainly mosques and Islamic schools so that we're finding some Osama bin Laden type of teaching there. So you basically have a chaotic situation, you have high unemployment, and you have this terrible teaching. Now, all that's going to do for
quickly, we're getting news from our producer at the scene that the Belgrade government might have in fact provided free transportation.
Ah, shut up, Cavuto. You ought to hide under a rock, you little worm. You what? They whisper in your ear to cut off the colonel who was telling the truth about the stealing of Kosovo from the Serbs. Shame on all of you at Fox News. 18% of your company is owned by a Saudi, and you won't tell the truth about what's going on over there? Shame on all of you.
The Serbs were actually trying to protect the people in Kosovo when the Muslims were shooting the police officers out there.
Correct. That's how it started. The war in the Balkans that Bill Clinton used for a couple of reasons, one of which was to get Lewinsky off the headlines, with the help of William Cohen, war criminal, with the help of General who? Do you remember the General war criminal? You remember the war criminal Secretary of State Albright, the war criminal? You remember Jamie Rubin, the war criminal? These are all war criminals, all of them, disguising and masquerading as diplomats. You remember General Wesley Clark? He was the war criminal in chief who orchestrated the bombing of innocent civilian Serbs.
That's absolutely right. It's a shame that it's gotten this far, and we should not...
It's not a shame. It shows you the level of propaganda in the world press, the level of propaganda that you're living through right now. How in the world can they run a story about Serbian people going out and saying you're not going to steal Kosovo from us, it's been part of our country for 700 years, and distort it to such an extent that they won't even tell the people how long Kosovo's been part of Serbia? It's not been an appendage. It's not been a province. It's been part of Serbia since the 1300s. Have you ever seen one picture of one Orthodox Christian church burnt to the ground in Kosovo since the wonderful United Nations was sent in there to protect the churches? With 300 churches burnt to the ground, has one picture ever surfaced in the United States of America, the so-called freest nation on earth? I haven't seen one picture. Not in the American media, but the pictures exist, by the way, if you want to search the internet. You'll see churches burnt to the ground in Kosovo, all under the protection of the United Nations. We're living through yellow journalism and propaganda, I know that. There were a few greedy oil companies that had great self-interest, as far as I can tell, to steal Kosovo, separated from Serbia, in order to run an oil pipeline from the Caspian Sea into southern Europe. Clinton and joined forces with the criminals at NATO to bomb the Serbs and get them out of Kosovo. Of course the Serbian people are going to riot when you say I'm going to take away a good portion of your territory and give it to people who stole it from you. All of you wonderful Kosovo lovers. What if the Mexicans were to suddenly say we're going to annex southern Texas, southern New Mexico, all of Arizona, and southern California because it was once part of Mexico and we now have the population dynamics to reoccupy it? You'd riot in the streets and say, you're not taking my house from me. I built this house. I built my life here.
Mike, the thing that really ticks me off about this, John Bolton was the only right guy on that. The U.S. and Bush could have used Russia to be honest brokers, and they could have got a partition deal out of this, and then the U.S. could have turned around and squeezed concessions out of Putin to take on the real Hitler of our time, Iran. That's statecraft. That's what you do when you're smart. We have a checkers player in office, and he's basically ripped up the agreement that Russia got for the U.S. to bail us out of this incompetent war in the first time, and we've just reignited a Cold War.
Yes, Bush is one of the most incompetent morons to have ever occupied the White House. Does he have any idea what he's triggering here? This could be World War III. If allowed to consolidate, an independent Kosovo would become a way station toward an anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Christian Eurabia. Why is it that so many intelligent people understand this, but George Bush doesn't understand?